feeling? Your face looks fantastic. How are you feeling? It looks so good.
I am feeling great. It's been actually 4 weeks today. My skin is still really sensitive and very thin, and it's rebuilding. And my staples are removed out of my head from the brow lift, so that's a good thing. And it's still like, I'm still sore, but overall feeling pretty good.
Good. Are you happy you did it?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, my skin looks amazing.
Would you do it again? Do you do it again in the future? Like, how does it work? Or is it like a one and done type of thing?
I'm not quite sure. I mean, obviously the brow lift is going to last for quite a while now. As you know, I had my lower face lift done like 7, 8 years ago, maybe, but I never had anything upper. And I had noticed that Botox was doing me dirty. So it was dropping my brows. And he goes, yeah, sometimes at a certain age, it just won't work anymore. He goes, you probably need a brow lift. So we did the brow lift, and he goes, well, while you're in there, why don't we do a CO2 laser to resurface your skin? And I'm like, and I knew because I've had a CO2 laser before, but just not as deep. So I knew that I was more afraid of that than the actual brow lift. And
Sure, yeah.
the swelling that was really bad was from the CO2 laser.
Yeah. No, I mean, I appreciated like you being so honest and open about it and going on social media and
Well, I honestly feel like a lot of women will show you the before and the after, but they won't show you the middle. And, there's a lot of women's like, thank you so much for showing us. And I mean, I look like crazy monsters, what I look like, but people were really invested, and I would get messages all day long. When's your next video? When's your next video?
Yeah.
So yeah, I have no regrets in doing that.
I know that Molly Sims spoke out saying that what you did was not a good idea because it breaks the barrier of your skin. Did you notice that at all? What changes have you noticed? And were you aware of that?
I don't exactly know what breaks the barrier of my skin means, but my makeup hasn't slid off my face, like she said. And, I get it. No disrespect to Molly Sims, but she is an ex-model that is now selling skincare. And I think that I'm going to take the advice of a board certified, surgeon. So sorry. No, I haven't. I've had a lot of friends that have had it done. My plastic surgeon does them all the time. Heather said Terry Dubrow does them all the time. And I haven't experienced anything negative.
Yeah. Well, you're glowing. You look great.
Yeah. Thank you.
What was the hardest part about recovery for you?
I would say just the first couple of days was pretty brutal. And then after that, I had to go on a steroid pack to get the swelling to go down. So as soon as the swelling went down, that was less painful. But then I had to deal with basically like a burn victim, like my skin was peeling off. My neck, for some reason, they say it's the most painful. It just burned. It burned, it itched, and that lasted for a couple weeks. I mean, I'm still like scratching at my hairline and getting like skin off.
Well, pain is beauty, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, let's talk about this season. What has it been like watching back this season so far? Do you feel like this is obviously a challenging season in certain ways, but what has it been like for you?
It's been a season that I've watched and I'm like, really? This is how it's coming out? Very shocked in the sense that, here we have Shannon, who her drinking has been talked about for 10 years since she's been on the show, gets a DUI, hit and run, hurts herself, goes to jail, and for some reason, she's the victim. In my world, I just don't understand it. But then if I was a viewer watching the show, I would think the same thing. Because she's very good at playing the victim and poor me, and I'm trying to help myself. And Shannon's really good at playing the victim. But then we have a separate situation where, Alexis is back and she's dating her ex. And on top of that, it makes people really feel sorry for her. I would feel sorry for her too. And I reached out to her, even though we weren't speaking prior to filming. And I said, I am so sorry. I heard that Alexis and John are truly dating, and I can't imagine what that feels like for you. And then only to find out she's going to be on the show. So to me,
you had no idea.
No idea. Like Alexis and I made up at BravoCon. I had no idea at that time she was in talks to come back. And she wasn't dating John at that time. So John came, they met later on, And Alexis would call me after she had told me that this was months later, that she was in negotiations. And she said, you know what, I don't know if the timing is good because I am dating John now. And I just don't want to kick Shannon when she's down.
Mm.
So that was her mindset going in. And then you watch the show, you're like, oh, wait, this is everything she said she didn't want to do. But I think she just really is riding hard for John and to try to clear his name because, Shannon would drink and then call us all and say horrible things about him that weren't necessarily true.
So do you think that she's like riding way too hard for John this season and it's backfiring on her then?
I think it's definitely backfiring on her for sure.
Yeah. You said in the beginning that like you were shocked the way that things are going down. Like, is there certain things from your perspective that you wish was included? Because a lot of people, for lack of better words, are saying that you were kind of mean this season to Shannon. And I'm sure you've seen that as well. So I'd love for you to respond.
I mean, I thank God for the reunion so we can clear a lot of this stuff up. There was a lot of stuff, obviously, and I'm sure it's done purposely. Like some things are taken out, but you have to have something to talk about at the reunion, right? And I understand the process. This isn't my first rodeo. But yeah, like you will see like the very first episode, I go to see if she's okay. I don't hate her. I don't hate this woman. I'm hurt by her. And I go to see if she's okay. And she comes after me and says some horrible things. And then I'm like, you're a horrible person. I don't want to talk to you. And I walk away. But they don't show that middle part of what got me to that. And then I'll discuss what was said at the reunion. And then the second time I had a confrontation with her was at Gina's dinner party. And again, she brought something up to me and that was my response.
Right.
So that's where when some things are removed, I mean, I feel like it's not fair to a certain extent. Like at least show a little bit of it. You can't just show me going off the rails for no reason. But I guess that's what the reunion's for.
Totally. So you would say that like you weren't being mean, you were being reactive.
I'm being reactive for sure. Was I being sweet? No, not in any, and I do regret ever calling her an alcoholic. I do regret that, but I was at that point, I was just pushed against the wall. And I'm like, and it's very hard for me knowing since I've known her and the struggles with alcohol and getting in an accident, getting a DUI and still drinking. I can't wrap my brain around that at all. One might say like, oh, well, you get drunk on the show and you act like an ass. Yes, I do. I am somebody that definitely can't handle more than 2 drinks. And it's because I don't drink that much. But when I film, I tend to think like I need a little bit of liquid courage. But my liquid courage turns into straight assholism.
Right. It's like 1 to 100, right? There's no in between. What do you foresee at the reunion, the two of you hugging it out, or is this friendship done for you? You and Shannon.
I really am hoping that we can move past it. I don't think that we'll ever be best friends like that. I really just want her to realize like I wasn't out to hurt her. I have been there for her forever. It's always been a very one-sided friendship. She's been very needy and I've always been that one there for her. And nobody truly knows what I've gone through for all those years. And then plus, the 2 years she just stopped talking to me. Just stopped talking to me because she didn't need me anymore. It just shows somebody's character. And, I really thought that when I came back last year that we got back on track and there's a lot of stuff about the Tres Amigas too. Like they make it look like I just quit. That's not what happened. There was many conversations there. I went to Traders and I came back and they had hired an agent. They had hired an agency. They had hired a booker. They wanted an LLC. And I have texts. I'm like, guys, I don't feel comfortable with this. And met with the agent and I said, you might want to find a backup. I said, listen, I have 4 podcasts. I have 2 houses that I spend my time at. I have a daughter that, that just started college and a husband. And I can't just take off and leave like that all the time. Not to mention my other businesses. Like, it's just not that easy. These girls don't have much. Shannon doesn't have a husband. She doesn't have a job. She doesn't. And Vicki, I'm not sure if she has a job either, but whatever.
I know. Yeah. So there was much more than it's just Shannon was drinking backstage one night and that's why you quit. So there was a lot more.
There was a lot more to it. Yes. Yes.
Yeah. You mentioned Vicki and obviously the two of you have had some words.
Well, I'm done. I haven't had any. She went after me And she has been, it's not just a one-time thing. This had been going on, and I don't know, she's got some lame podcast she's trying to get off the ground. I mean, between the two of her and her co-host, I think they've had 5 failed podcasts, but she's trying to get people to listen. So how's she doing that? She's coming after me. And I even reached out, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, do you have a problem with me? And
Oh, you reached out to her separately?
yeah.
Yeah.
And so her thing was, I'm sticking up for Shannon. I'm like, oh, come on. What are we in high school? I've known you way longer than you've known Shannon, and you and Shannon haven't always had the best relationship. So maybe you guys are meant to be together. You know, I want to hang out and surround myself with positive people, not people that backstab and talk about it. And I'm not talking show shit. I'm talking real life friends. You know, you have to take the show out of people go, oh, well, you backstab. I'm doing a job, you know,
Sure. Yeah.
I'm doing a job. Let's be honest. So, you know, in true life, I don't want that. I don't want drama in my real life at all. And these girls tend to say really nasty things. And I'm like, I'm done. I'm good. I have other friends. Like Heather DeBro would never do that to me, ever. We talk all the time. You know, I respect her. And yeah, we had some problems last season. And because Shannon was behind it, she was telling me that Heather said all these horrible things about me. And I'm like, what? So it's just very toxic. And I don't need it in my life.
No. Well, especially when kids get involved. I feel like that should always be
Oh yeah, she was just spewing lies. Everything she said was an absolute lie. She has no details of what has happened to my family and to my children's lives. For her to go out and say it just shows her true character. I couldn't imagine even to, you know, my worst enemy to go and do that like she did. And to think that I've had a relationship with her for almost 20 years, to do that it's gross.
Yeah, for it to end like that is not. Yeah, it's like you said, it's kind of it's gross. Yeah. What was it like filming with your daughter this year? I love to see your relationship. It's so wonderful.
So when Sophia started the show, she wanted to come on, and she was really nervous at the very beginning. So you see her like really awkward and nervous, and then as time went on, you'll see like by the end of the season, she's a totally different person. I loved it. I love being able to show her, because people are always like, oh, your kids aren't around you. I'm like, yes, they are. Spencer and Sophia have both lived Sophia full time since she was 14. Prior to that, it was 50-50. Not even 14. I think it was 12 or something like that. And then Spencer had lived with me full time since he was 13. You know, I sent him away to college, and now Sophia's the only one home. So it's, you know, it's a bit hurtful when people come for me about, you know, my kids and being a mom. So it was nice to be able to show her, and, you know, even showing her, people are like, oh, did you notice she pulled away from her mom? She hates her. And I'm like, oh my God, you can't win.
No, you can't win.
She enjoyed it. The end of the season, we get to see some of her singing. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. So we're happy.
Yeah. Do you feel like this experience made you closer together?
Yeah. I mean, she's my best friend. I'm her best friend. We do everything together. Eddie goes, I'm your best friend. Yeah. And we have a really tight, you know, household, and we spend a lot of time together, and yeah, it was great. And she doesn't have to hide. She doesn't have to hide before. And it was like so hard, because we'd be filming and she couldn't be part of my life. And she felt it too. Spencer has never wanted to be on camera, ever.
Yeah.
So he's just, I have to blur his face if I put him on Instagram, or not put him on at all. So he's kind of shy, and he doesn't like the limelight at all.
Well, it's nice to see this side. It's nice to see this side of the both of you. I absolutely loved it. It was one of the highlights of the season for me. Circling back to Alexis, just to kind of wrap up that conversation. What did you make of Alexis and John, or mostly John, not accepting that settlement from Shannon? She offered to pay him the full amount, and I think he basically admitted that he's hanging on to these tapes for blackmail. At least that's what it's implied.
That's absolutely not true.
Okay.
He's not hanging on. But that's something Shannon made up. And I would, if I was her, I'd be very skeptical about I would not do stuff like that, because it's absolutely not the truth at all. From what I was told, there was a lot of stipulations with giving the money. It was not the full amount. It was a payment plan. There was a lot of things that she wanted signed. You know, when you loan somebody money, and from what I've heard, there is an email trail of
Mhm.
saying, this is a loan, this is what you have to sign. And also, from what I might be wrong, but I don't think I am, they weren't even together when he loaned her this money.
Oh, okay. Mhm.
So he loaned her 75,000, I think it was. And, I can see where he's coming from, to a certain extent, where she's
Mhm.
out there telling the world, like, I pay for everything. He doesn't pay for anything. And, he's a fame whore and all these things. Sometimes enough is enough. And I
Mhm.
told her, I had a conversation with her during filming off camera. And I said, Shannon, I think you should just pay him. I said,
Mhm.
and maybe you can publicly apologize and maybe he won't ask for the money. I think it's principle. I don't think it's because he needs the money. I think he's a very well-off guy, but I think it's a principle of what you've done tarnishes the image. And, some people can take it, some people can't. And he's just
Mhm.
one of those that's not going to take it.
Right. Do you think Alexis will be back next season after everything that happened this season?
I hope so. I mean, I would like
Yeah.
to see her in a full-time role where we can see like her kids and her life
Sure.
and
Yeah.
maybe her wedding next year and all
Mhm.
that. So I'm really hoping so, but I think right now she feels very defeated. She's very
Mhm.
upset. She's very hurt. And I don't know if that's what she's thinking right now.
Right. Yeah. Were you surprised they got engaged?
No,
No.
no,
Mhm.
I had heard they were looking at wedding rings months ago.
Right. Hmm. Interesting. All right. Well, are you going to attend the wedding?
Yes, I've already got to
Yeah.
save the date.
Very nice. Oh, wow. All right. There, save the dates are out. I love it. We got to talk about this week's episode of the show as well, because obviously things get very intense for you, for Eddie, for Ryan and Jen.
Yeah.
Did you expect it to end up that way? Because obviously we see you getting up and leaving the dinner, and it was pretty explosive.
Well, Eddie and I had talked prior, and Eddie's like,
Mhm.
just don't give that guy any attention.
Mhm.
He's not a great guy. And
Yeah.
so when I was at Traders out of the country, no phone, evidently he went on a podcast, said a few things, but then he also was going on social media and making comments about me being a mom. He made comments about my husband being gay. He included my son in on this. Like he was just really acting like an insecure child. And my husband's been attacked on this show by Vicki, by Kelly Dodd. Shane Simpson has been attacked on the show about things, if you come on the show and you're doing shady shit, you should expect it, right? But Eddie
Mhm.
got attacked about his sexuality. Shane got attacked, and neither one of them once went on a podcast, took to social media. And I think it just goes to show like they're very secure guys and they just
Mhm.
don't need to do that. And they don't get involved with girl drama. Eddie taught me something very, which I think is a very good lesson. He's like, listen, don't worry about what other people are saying about you. Worry about what other people think about you. Worry about what you think about yourself.
Mhm.
So Ryan's not a guy that probably thinks that highly of himself. And he's a little bitch. He's a little bitch
Is
boy.
Jen is Jen making a huge mistake marrying him, you think?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm starting to think they're the same person. So
Mm.
yeah, she's no angel and he's no Dodger player.
No, he's not. No, he's not. So I guess things between you and Jen then shift after this dinner, I would imagine
Well,
then too.
with my situation with Jen, with Ryan, had nothing to do with Jen. So,
Right.
when I was sitting at the table with Jen, we were talking. I said, Jen, remember what we talked about prior to this meeting, this
Hmm.
dinner? This isn't between me and you. This is not between me and you. This is between me and
Hmm.
Ryan. You want to come for me, Ryan? Come for me all you want. You want to call me a clown and call me ugly and old and my kids don't like me and all that stuff. How about it? If it makes you feel good, little boy, go ahead, do it.
Hmm. Yeah.
But when you start coming after my husband and my kids, I don't have the patience for that. And I will tell you exactly how I feel. So going into the dinner, I wasn't really planning on doing that. It wasn't on
Hmm.
my radar. I was going to just kind of be cordial, yeah, whatever. And I'm not a martini drinker and I will never be a martini drinker again. I don't even know what's in them, but I had like 3 martinis and I have not been drunk since that night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it really, because I woke up the next day, I didn't know what happened. I
Mm.
was, I had anxiety, Eddie was upset with me. And I'm like, I just made a point right there. I'm like, never again.
Never again.
It doesn't take me driving my car into a house.
It just takes an argument with Ryan. Did the two of you have more words this season? Is this kind of just starting to bubble up between you and Ryan?
No, I don't have any other words with him ever again.
Okay. Ever again. You haven't spoken to him since?
No, I never will. No. This guy is bad news.
Bad. And you feel like Jen is kind of bad news now too?
Yeah, I do. She's somebody that comes off very sweet and kind, and let's just say her words don't match her actions in life.
Yeah. How do you feel?
Very self-produced.
Okay, interesting. Got it. Have to be on the lookout. What do you feel like Katie brought to this season? How do you feel like she fit in with this group? Because she had a rough couple episodes.
Yeah, I think Katie does very well in her interview bites, although she does go after Heather, which I don't really like. But everybody has their person that they're not really getting along with. I would have liked to see her talk more in scenes and be more involved. But it's her first season and it's not always that natural to people.
Sure.
So, we'll see if she's back next season, if she kind of gets more involved. We already have Jen who's very quiet. We don't need two quiet ones.
You got to be outspoken in this group. You got to say how you feel.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Did you feel for Emily when it came to everything going on with she and Heather? Did you understand where she was coming from?
I didn't understand it at the beginning because Heather asked us all to bring different clothing items to mix and match with the designer's clothes. So I didn't understand it at first. I'm like, but wait, I was told to bring a shirt. I was told to bring, certain thing. We all were. So, and at the actual fashion show, I didn't notice her being upset. I didn't see it. I wasn't looking for it either, but I didn't see it. So when we were at Jen's house for the party, game night, I just felt like it came out of nowhere. And I really thought like, oh God, is this just trying, sometimes girls try to do things on the show to make it a thing. I mean, it's my biggest pet peeve. And just kind of trying too hard. And because I didn't witness any of that. And I didn't think it was that big of a deal. And then after that night, I had talked with her. I'm like, okay, I get it. I understand it's your own insecurity. It's not necessarily, I thought that she was accusing Heather of fat shaming her. And I'm like, nowhere ever did that ever happen. It was actually making me really mad. Because I'm like, Heather would never do that. That's why I joked. I'm like, that's something I would do. But I mean, I wouldn't. I clearly would never do that. But after I talked to Emily, I understood it was, it's her insecurity, and I totally understand that.
Definitely. It was funny. I don't know if you watch Selling Sunset at all or any of HGTV, but we spoke to Heather Ray El Moussa recently, and she said, I guess a while ago, she was in talks of maybe joining OC. Do you think that she would be a good addition to the show?
I've never heard of that before, that she was in talks. I don't know when this was. Was it recently?
She didn't say when it was. I think that maybe it just came up in maybe a topic of conversation, but I just wanted to get your response to it if you think that she would be a good addition.
I met her once. She was very, very sweet. I don't know. I don't know her well enough to know. I've watched her on Selling Sunset, and she seems very sweet and kind. And I feel like that's not what we need on our show.
Right. I couldn't agree with you more.
I would prefer to have Alex Hall.
Yes, I think that she would actually probably be a good addition.
She'd be a great addition.
Yeah, I like that. You should be casting too, Tamra.
I know. Me and Alex are gonna go to lunch here soon, which we've been trying to get a date on the books, but hasn't happened yet.
Tamra, I couldn't agree with you more. Thank you so much for taking the time. It was so good catching up.